Hallo, hallo, hier ist Ricarda von Serieasten. Am 14. Juli startet endlich die lang erwartete zweite Staffel der phänomenalen Science-Fiction-Serie Foundation. Und mit den absoluten Stars der Serie, Lee Pace und Laura Birn, durfte ich vorab sogar ein Interview führen. Das hört ihr hier. Meine weiteren Interviews mit Jared Harris und Regisseur David Goyer hört ihr an anderer Stelle. Viel Spaß jetzt erstmal und tschüss.
I have a question for Lee first. I already loved you in Pushing Daisies as the nice baker, but then again, you also play very amazing, egocentric assholes, as seen on *Halt and Catch Fire* and now on *Foundation*. And I wanted to ask you, which kind of roles do you personally prefer to play?
I honestly am just happy to keep working and investigating different kinds of people. I mean, the Emperor of the Galaxy couldn't be more different than Ned the Pie Maker. You're absolutely right about that. But there's, I enjoy, stepping into different shoes and with this role, with the Cleons, because every season I get to play a different Cleon, so the real delicious thing for me to do is think about how they're different and how they're the same, how they feel like they're different, but actually they're probably the same. That's been really fun. This season I get to play a Cleon who is, full of bravura and probably the biggest ego the galaxy has seen in a while, and that is, insane and absurd and really fun to step onto set. And most of my scenes this season are with Laura, and we have a really good time ruling the galaxy.
Thank you.
So, in regards to you two ruling together, wouldn't you maybe agree that Cleon's power is largely an illusion and that it's Demoiselle who's actually running the Empire?
Interesting take. I don't know where this might go. I would say you're watching the show in exactly the way David Goyer would want you to watch the show. You're seeing exactly what we're giving. There's no answer here. There's just the question. You've got these two characters who are immensely powerful, but they're actually also enslaved to one another. In a way, and I think that is, I'd hate to use the word toxic because it doesn't really apply in here, but it kind of
Yes, it does. I think it's I find their relationship so interesting because every time she raises all the Cleons since they're babies, and there's always love for the new baby and the innocent child. But when he becomes Day, when he sits the middle throne, it's always he has the most power, but there's always the biggest struggle between who's actually controlling. Season 1 ended up us really kind of fighting for who's going to make the final decision, who's the one who actually gets to command the other, and it changes and it varies. And I think it looks like maybe to outside because the Cleons, they don't have a very small ego, so it's always about their show and kind of a lot of big egos in this Emperor, but then who silently has the power, who silently kind of steers the things and the dynasty where she needs to, is, I think you might be right there.
Time is an interesting character in this story. Time is, we jump huge amounts of time. Things change in that time in drastic ways. I am generations, after the character I played last year. So I'm kind of the same man, but I'm living in a different universe, a different galaxy, different circumstances. She is the same, and that
Me and my mission always stays the same, and I have all the knowledge. This I find also interesting. I know everything about them, all of them. I've learned everything through. I don't forget anything. I have all the knowledge, and they kind of come always with their fresh, want or
I'm
need
doing
to
this,
be
this
the
is
special
me.
one, to be the one remembered, and kind of, and her watching through that, all that controlling, like finding the way just to protect the genetic dynasty is, there.
Yeah,
It's a power struggle.
it's a power struggle, for sure.
A key theme of the show is things that you pass down to future generations, like the genetics, for example, or the foundation of Harry. And I was just wondering if you had the chance to pass something down to future generations, what would be the first thing that you would write down?
Believe none of what follows. Figure it out for yourselves. I don't know. What would you?
Oh, it's hard. I don't know. I think there's something interesting in the in the idea of, can one person make a difference? Do we is there hope in the individual, or are we kind of, as, I don't know. I'm losing my idea. No.
Well, I think it's like there's, like, what the show does is give you this, like, Harry Seldon has this idea that rationality, that with logic, with math, you can find a path through hope, and there might be salvation for mankind. But he might be wrong. There's lots of different forces operating inside individual humans, and of course in our, very diverse species. And so we kind of begin with this idea that he's got this way that that humans might survive. But there's lots of different ways in which humans might survive. Knowledge might be one of them. Rationality might be one of them. But also, like, irrationality might be one of them. This kind of native human, like, we survive the most improbable things. And we're able to do so not just with our logic mind, but with our, force of will or luck. Many of the other forces that come our way. So you've got all of these different characters who have figured out a way to cheat death so that we can span the story through a long time and watch how they react to a big chunk of time. I don't know if that answers your question.
Well said. Yes.
A question for the both of you. When playing an egocentric maniac and a robot respectively, do you have to somewhat look for the humanity in those characters, or are you just fine with leaning into the nastiness that they are?
Well, it's all of it, isn't it? Some days I think about the humanity of it, and then some days I think about what is kind of delicious and absurd about the character. There's some times I want to rationalize why he does this, so he could do that, and then there's sometimes I think he does it because he does it. He does it because he wants to. There's no rational reason he should be carrying on a sexual relationship with his robotic mother, but he wants to. He feels it, and I think
that is very human. That we don't always follow the same pattern or something. We are very irrational ourselves all the time. I wish I was more rational, but so then I think even her being an AI, being a robot, I think it's very, for me, it was very important to find the human, the kind of the fire inside her. What are the things that bother her or excite her or make her hope for something? Yeah, I think, yeah.
With the stakes in season 2 being much, much higher than in season 1, what kind of different approach did you both take to your characters, or especially Laura here?
Well, I think for me, season 2, because we get to learn a lot of her backstory, how she became to kind of work or be enslaved in this empire, and we learn about that, and that kind of gave me so much like variety to what to play with, because we can see her as like very fragile in her, like not playing any games, and then we see her operating the dynasty, kind of like ruling quietly behind the guys who are very flashy and always making a big show, but then we understand that behind that, all that showiness, there's actually, she has a lot of secrets, she has a lot of plans, and she's actually controlling everything. So for me, it was very intriguing, because in season 1, we still kind of like, we hold back a lot of the knowledge that she has and kind of her inner life. And in season 2, I get to explore it much more, and kind of also the ways to protect the genetic dynasty in season 2 get more extreme, more idiosyncratic, and it more fun.
More fun.
Yeah.
What was the filming of season 2 like? Like, if you could choose any day on set while shooting season 2, what day would you pick?
The best day shooting season 2. One day that I really enjoyed was the day that we go into the Prime Radiant. We have a confrontation with Harry Seldon, and we get to speak to, I think, my character. The idea of Seldon, it's generations in the past, 150 years in the past. Harry Seldon stood in our throne room and predicted our fall. So I have this opportunity to stand next to him, look him in the eye, and say, "We will not fall. We are stronger than you. Your math is flawed, and that humans will determine the fate of humanity. Not a bunch of robots. Not a bunch of robots like you or like her." You know, and I think I think that's. I mean, and that of course speaks to the ego of Cleon, thinking that he is the hero of this story. But I think in that scene you really see his blind spot, which, you know, his ego allows him to see only his ambition and the violence he needs to employ to reach his ambition, and there's many other forces that are working inside the story that he is unaware of. So, what was yours?
Well, our Lee's fight scene was one of the favorites. I got to follow that. That was a very entertaining 3 days. But also, I did love shooting my backstory when we get to see her. It's kind of like a fight for your life situation, like fight for freedom. Yet at the same time, she's sliced, and she's not. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but she's not able to move, or kind of like, so then to kind of create like a game, how to fight for your freedom, even if you are kind of paralyzed just with thoughts, with words, first with a young boy, then with an angry adolescent, then with a mature emperor of the galaxy, and then an old man who's about to who only has some moments left. So kind of that game of navigating through all the Cleons, I love that. It was maybe 5 days of shooting, but that whole sequence and the writing in that is extremely beautiful, and I really enjoyed it.
There are apparently a lot of more threats to the Empire in season 2. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but the opening sequence is one of an assassination against the Emperor. But how does this factor into how your characters behave? Are they more under distress or paranoid? How do they react to those multiple threats now, not just from Harry and the Foundation, but also apparently from within?
I would say for my character that he feels the pressure of the fraying empire. The empire has contracted. We've lost certain regions. The politics are more complicated. And his response to it is to engage in this marriage and produce children and end the genetic dynasty, so no more clones. So that's his solution. That's his fix to this fraying empire. And I don't think he's stressed about it, because I think he's got this absurd confidence in himself. I think he thinks he's got this. He's the hero. He's powerful. He's full of nanites. He's got the aura. He's got, you know, this exquisite antique robot who is guiding him through all of his decisions. There's no way he can fail. that the galaxy will not fall, that Harry Seldon is wrong. And I think he's got such a belief in him, in his force of humanity, that he's not too worried.
And all of this is a major threat for her, because her mission is to protect the genetic dynasty, to protect the empire, and then having these clients that just drift further and further and come up with these ideas of young, beautiful wives and offspring, major threat. Yes, she needs to work hard.
Thank you so much for your time, Laura and Lee. And I'm highly looking forward to watching season 2 of Foundation on Apple TV Plus, starting on 14th of July.